We're going to talk about grow. Linda talked about it. We're going to talk about building wealth beyond your business because, yes, we do have so many businesses that I see. They're pouring everything into their business and they're not focusing on building wealth outside of their business. And that is just a recipe for disaster, as she said. So, Linda, she gave me a great introduction. I work with businesses and I work with women. I started off as a real estate investor. I've helped build and manage a rental portfolio of over $35 million. I work with small businesses, founders, startups, to grow that business and invest alongside of it. And I am really on that mission to empower entrepreneurs, especially women, to really get active in how we're growing our wealth. So today, we're going to understand the grow method, what it is, how it works, and how we can start implementing it today. Talk about setting financial goals for ourselves in our business and outside. How do we use that business to maximize our revenue, make that money work harder? And how do we build ownership and build a legacy? That is what we're going to talk about today. So why does this matter? I am a proud Gen Xer. If you listen to Run DMC on one of these, it's time to start planning for retirement. However, this is killing me. The average retirement account for Gen Xers is $178,000, but the median is much lower. It's $40,000 is the average Gen Xer's retirement account. It's staggering. It gives me heart palpitations. They think they're going to need about 1.2.6 million to retire comfortably, but most have less than 5 to 10% of the amount saved. That's Gen Xers overall, not including entrepreneurs. These are people with 401ks who've had, corporate jobs. Why else does this matter? Women. I am a fierce advocate for women and financial literacy, and only 11% of them feel confident about their retirement savings compared to 25% of men. There is still really a gap in that financial confidence between men and women. Only 7% of women said that they know about investing compared to other financial topics. Women are nearly 3 times as likely as men to have no retirement savings at all. And women are more likely to end up in poverty in retirement. We live longer than men, and we are not as prepared. So things are starting to pile up. Now, as it applies to entrepreneurs, small business owners, 34% have no retirement savings plan. They are relying on selling their business and that being their retirement. So they are truly dependent on the success of that business to live financially free for the rest of their life. Now, nearly half of small businesses doubt that they will ever be able to retire. That's staggering to me. So we have so much uncertainty, yet we're killing ourselves every day in our business. So we have to address this. There's this wealth gap for entrepreneurs. How many of you have ever looked at your bank account after a record sales month and thought, where did all my money go? That is a common question. I see that all the time. Now, just because you've had a great month and things look good on paper, that doesn't always mean that everything in your personal success is as flourishing. So I came up with the solution, the grow method, because I want us to be able to bridge this gap. So we're going to start with G, the grow method. G stands for goals. It's not the goals that you're thinking about. It's not hitting 7 figures or landing that dream client, although that is important. What I'm talking about is setting goals completely outside of your business. So let me ask you something. If your business disappeared tomorrow, poof, gone, vanished, what would you have left? If that question makes you break into a cold sweat, you're not alone. But here's the truth. Most entrepreneurs, they just set these business goals that are like climbing mountains, higher revenue, more clients, bigger team. But building wealth, that's like building a mountain, something that stands whether you're making money actively in your business or not. So you're going to get a workbook at the end of this. So don't worry, I'm going to throw a lot of activities at you, but you will get a workbook at the end so you can go back through each of these and really sit down and write down your goals. So we want to measure success and set specific wealth goals. So for every business goal, you want to set a parallel personal asset goal. And then for every business milestone, establish a wealth building reward. And then you want to measure your wealth conversion rate. How efficiently are you turning your business success into personal assets? I had a friend of mine one time, she said, if you want to set a business goal, set a physical fitness goal. And because when you're doing two things at once, you're setting two intentions, you're going to work that much harder towards it. So when we're building our business and we're building our wealth, we're taking that same dollar and we're building two futures simultaneously. All right. So on to the R in grow. R for revenue. But I'm not just talking about the revenue that you're making in your business, right? We're going to talk about the different levels. So I once spent 60 hours, building out a service that made me $10,000. Sounds good, right? But then I took it and I built an online course based on that took me 120 hours to create, but has since generated $200,000 while I sleep. Same business, but dramatically different results. Now, you're doing your revenue wrong when your smartwatch congratulates you for activity, when you're laying in bed at night freaking out about how you're going to get your next sale. We have to start making our money work for us. So what I see is this revenue architecture that we have to learn to work within. Transactional revenue. You work, you get paid once. You're literally trading time for money, and that is the entrepreneurial hamster wheel, right? Then you've got leveraged revenue. You work once, you get paid repeatedly, kind of like that evergreen course. Now, passive revenue. This is when your assets work and you get paid. And that is the ultimate goal. But what happens is most entrepreneurs get stuck building these elaborate systems for type 1, that transactional revenue, when they should be focused on part 2 and part 3, that leveraged and passive. We have got to start building a model that pays whether we're actively working or not. All right, we're moving right along. We are down to O. The O in grow stands for ownership. But I'm not talking about owning your job. I see far too many of the businesses that I work for doing everything themselves, literally treading water just to get to the end of each month. They are operating as if they are self-employed, and let's use this example. If you come home from a week's vacation and checking your phone gives you heart palpitations, you don't own a job. The job owns you. And, let's be honest, most people I know that are entrepreneurs are working on vacation. Okay. That job owns you. So how do we create a job or not even a job? How do we come higher level out of that self-employed mindset and build ownership inside of our business? So we want a business that runs without you. We want some intellectual property that generates value regardless of your time, meaning we develop assets that you can license or sell. We work on systems that create processes that run without you. This is the power of technology, automation, AI. If we are not utilizing these tools and technologies to buy back our time, we're literally throwing money away. Team development. I'll be honest, I went for the longest time doing it myself. And when I finally hired my assistant, you guys don't know the relief that I felt being able to let that go. It comes from up here first, but once you do it, you delegate to grow. That is only going to give you more capacity, more power, more time to do the things that generate the revenue in your business. And now, ownership of assets outside of your business. We can't. I see too many entrepreneurs pouring every amount of profit they get back into the business to grow those systems, to grow that team, to grow that intellectual property, which is great. But we're going to have to start building assets outside of our business. So let's talk about that intellectual property. I had a client that she just switched 20% of her effort to building out a online course, a membership community with an online course built into it. And that 20% took over 40% of her income with no additional time. So if you just take the time to build it up front, you're going to generate more revenue without actually working harder. Now, the ownership accelerator formula, this is going to be in your workbook. When I talk about outside investments, this is a mindset shift. Self-employed to CEO, this is a mindset shift. You want to dedicate 10% of your profit to buying back your time. If you don't have the systems and the team in place, then you need to invest in those systems. Invest 10% of your revenue into assets outside of your business. No excuses, no exceptions. And then convert 10% of your intellectual capital into ownable, sellable assets each year. Look at your processes. Look at the things you are doing over and over again for each client. How can you package that up one time and sell it to many? That'll be in your workbook too. All right, we're moving on to W. The W in grow is wealth. Okay, this is where everything comes together, but it's also where most entrepreneurs miss the mark. There's a special kind of irony when a financial advisor has to explain compounding interest to a business owner who's brilliant at marketing, but still keeps their savings in a bank savings account. That is like a world-class chef who eats fast food for dinner every night. Blows my mind. What we have to do with wealth building is have strategies. We are here to build a legacy and not just build income. My beautiful friend, Chris Miller, she's around Leadership Global and the C-suite. She says that a plan is just a plan, but a strategy is going to get you there. So we are talking about strategy. The average business owner, when you want to talk about tax strategy, I'm sure Amanda Barr can attest to this, they overpay their taxes simply because they don't structure everything correctly. The power of investing in someone to structure not only your company entity structure, but how you're managing your finances within that business, that is going to reduce your tax burden, give you more revenue and more profit to do the things outside of your business. And we want to talk about asset allocation. I call them wealth buckets. I want to set up different buckets for opportunities for growth, security, and opportunity, and be very strategic about how I package up those assets. And then business boosted investing. We're all geniuses at what we do. We have built businesses that we are proud of. We are helping people every day. And we can use those business insights to make smarter investment choices. And I will say, this is a leadership global event. Women, we are better at seeing into the future and making smarter investment choices, being risk aware, not risk averse. So one of the statistics I talked about with women in the very beginning was that they were not confident. They were intimidated. Well, let me tell you, intimidation and education have an inverse relationship. We have an opportunity here to take an active role in the building of our wealth. We've done it in our business. We're working hard. We're doing beautiful things in our business. Now it's time to step out and build that wealth through our business. All right. So the greatest gift that you can give your future self isn't a bigger business. It's the financial freedom that exists whether your business survives or not. So I say a wealth strategy day is a huge opportunity. So you schedule a time to plan your future. I say you sit down and with this workbook that I'm going to give you, have an opportunity to evaluate each of these opportunities. I had a client that I was working with to do this exact thing. We find the holes in your business where you can be creating more revenue, changing your strategy, doing these things now. Before you pay any business expense, take 5% and invest it. The other 95% will catch up, I promise. It's going back to that mindset shift. Before you pay any business expenses, take 5% and invest it. The goal is freedom, not just a business that makes money, but a life that's fully funded. And financial freedom isn't just about the money. It is about choice. It is about sleeping at night and knowing that you're taken care of. It's about knowing what your future is going to bring and not worrying about the next day and the next day and the end of the month and what's coming next. So let's review. Your grow action plan. We've got goals that build mountains, not just climb them. Revenue that works while you sleep. Ownership of assets, not just responsibilities. And wealth that transcends your business success. So I want everybody to take out your phone or open up your calendar on your computer. I'm serious. Do it right now. Because we know that, great ideas. There's just a pleasant conversation if we don't take action. Okay. You are going to block off 90 minutes sometime within the next 72 hours and call it My Grow Plan. And in the notes, and then you're going to take your workbook that I'm going to give you, and you're going to work through each letter of grow and the specific actions that you're committing to. And no, Google more about wealth building does not count as an action step. That's like scrolling through Instagram workout videos and calling that your workout plan. All right. Remember, your business, it should be the most powerful wealth building tool you have, but it should never be your only one. When you implement grow, you transition from an entrepreneur who works for money into an entrepreneur whose money works for them. The question isn't whether you can afford to focus on building your wealth outside of your business. The question is, can you afford not to? We saw the statistics. We know what's happening in our world and where we're headed. How are we protecting ourselves? How are we growing our wealth and our business simultaneously? I talked a lot today. This QR code here is your workbook, and I'll put the link in the chat as soon as we're done here. Absolutely, if you're on your phone, because I do believe this is important. And I want to outline for you exactly how to set those goals for yourself so that you can build those two futures simultaneously, your business and your wealth. So I want to open this up for questions for everyone. A lot of people come to me and say, I don't know anything about investing. I let somebody else do that. Until 1974, a woman couldn't open a bank account or get a credit card without a man's permission. And we have tended to just step back and let someone else make some decisions for us. And the time is now to be active, to choose, to learn, to step out of intimidation and into confidence where we know we can build a business. Now let's build our wealth.